Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. Pope Francis, he's one of the most popular popes in history, but not as popular as he once was with Americans. A new Gallup poll finds that while 59% of Americans overall have a favorable view of the pontiff, that's a 17-point slide from last year when over 3/4 of the public approved of the Jesuit. So what's behind the slide? Well, it's Catholic and conservative displeasure. The Pope has seen an 18-point drop in favorability among American Catholics and a whopping 27-point drop among self-described conservatives, with only 45% of the latter approving of the new church leader. Since his election in 2013, the Pope has been outspoken on a number of hot-button issues, including climate change, capitalism, and poverty. And while liberals have welcomed the pontiff's left turn, they want him to step on the proverbial gas and get moving on them. Pope Francis is set to make his first trip to the U.S. this September. So will he woo his American audience like the charismatic Pope John Paul before him? Or are his spiritual concerns a bit more transcendent? I turn to the Catholic at the table, Heather.
Listen, I think in general his trip in September will increase his poll numbers just because he's here. I live in Philadelphia. The fact that he is coming to Philadelphia, it is an enormous deal. People are very excited, setting up tents. It's going to be a mess in the city. But I think for the conservatives it's going to be a major problem. He's speaking on immigration at the end of his trip, and we know what that will likely talk about. I think the majority of Catholics look at him not as a political leader, but as a religious and spiritual leader. He shouldn't be talking about microeconomics and climate change, and if he is, we shouldn't be giving it the credence that perhaps some people are.
So these numbers among Catholics, it doesn't surprise you that he's losing popularity among American Catholics?
It doesn't surprise me with conservatives because he is outspoken on things like climate change and the economic issues that perhaps he shouldn't be speaking about, and I think that people are disappointed in that. He is still polling better than Pope Benedict, just not as well as Pope John Paul II. So a lot of it's personality, and I think that his personality will always be a draw.
This poll says more about us than it does about the Pope, and I'll tell you why. Look, I understand that many will disagree with what the Pope is saying, okay? They just don't agree. But if there's anybody on the planet that you can look at and say, I disagree with you, I think you're wrong, but I know that your intent is as good as it could be, and I know that you're saying this and believe this because you want to make a better world, it's the Pope. So why do you have to dislike him for it? Can't you just say, I don't agree with him, but you know, he's got the biggest heart on the planet, he's the Pope, I still love him, I'll always love him.
Yeah,
what's up with that? And by the way, it was all conservatives
who ditched him. This is how Democrats have gotten away with 50 years of failed
policies,
is that their heart is in the right place.
Their
intentions are always noble.
You don't think the Pope's heart's in the right place?
Do you think that there's this comedy when it comes
to
gay marriage, when it comes to women in the pulpit? Liberals are not quite so forgiving about where his heart is.
I am.
Precisely, yeah, exactly. There's selective forgiveness there. Yes. There's a certain amount of politics that the Pope is supposed to be above, right? And he is essentially Pope Bernie Sanders. He's very much to the left of a lot of Americans. So that accounts for conservative numbers. When he was in Latin America and he was handed a cross by the Bolivarian revolutionary Evo Morales in Bolivia that was made out of a hammer and sickle, he should have refused it. It would have sent a powerful signal. It's an anti-religious symbol. It was designed as a provocative gesture, and he was being very nice by accepting it, and he's the Pope. Good for him. But he should have refused it.
But wait, guys, I have to dispute something. You guys just said something that's inaccurate, and that poll proved it. Because the only loss he had in popularity was among conservative voters.
No,
look at the liberal vote. Look at the liberal numbers.
Hang on.
Look
at
American
bring it back up and wait,
guys. Look at the liberal numbers. The drop is substantial.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
American Catholics. Let's go back.
Okay,
the drop
you're right. I thought it was
Catholics.
just conservatives.
No, and I think that there are two issues here, Rick.
Then I'm going to agree instead of disagree.
Thank you. So I think that there are two issues.
This is terrible.
But it doesn't count. I don't think any less of the Pope, even though I disagree with him on issues of same-sex marriage.
Let me jump in here for just a second. I think there are two issues with the Pope and his drop in popularity among Catholics and conservatives, which is his positions on the issues are displeasing to conservatives. And I think for a lot of Catholics, the fact that he's taking any position at all on politics and not confining it to spiritual matters, that's a problem as well.
This is why the Pope doesn't care. He's not political. These polls mean nothing to him. He is doing what he's doing because it is the spiritual drive. But Rick, people don't like people who don't agree with them.
But is climate change a spiritual
issue,
Heather?
If I didn't like people who disagree with me, I'd have nobody to talk to, would I?
You simply
Everywhere I work where people
here.
disagree with me. Why can't you like people who disagree with you?
Do you think it is appropriate for the Pope
disagrees with me.
Yes.
I like her very much.
But Rick,
No,
do you think
not
it's
so
appropriate
much.
for this religious leader to be weighing in on political matters like capitalism, global warming? You call it climate change, I call it global warming. Do you think that's appropriate for a religious leader?
What was the question?
Is it appropriate
To weigh in on these political issues?
It's appropriate for him to say whatever he wants to say as long as his intent is to benefit the planet.
And Amy, it affects so many of the poor. And that's why I think whether you call it global warming, climate change, we've talked about this before, it has an effect on the poor, and that's what he's concerned about.
All right, everybody, tell us what you think about the new Bishop of Rome. Weigh in at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Share your 2 cents. And up next, it's potluck time. Don't go anywhere. Put in those comments. We'll be reading them on the air.